G'day everyone, Sid here again, Sid's Repurposing. Not in the garden today, I'm in one of my sheds, and I did mention in one of my videos earlier that I had a couple of little worm farms and I'd show them to you at some point in the future, so I thought, well, today is as good a day as any. So what we're looking at here is the worm tea or worm wee. So this is the leachate that comes through the worm farms when you moisten them and it runs out the bottom. And what I do with mine is that's all passed through the worm farms at least 3 times. So I'll harvest it from the bottom and then I'll pour it back through, use it again to moisten up the soil. So it should be actually quite rich. When you use that, many schools of thought, anything from 1 part in 10 to 1 part in 100. I reckon probably 1 part in 10 is about probably good, and I'm going to give my rhubarb and some of my plants that seem to be struggling a little bit, a bit of a drink of worm tea in the next day or two. So these are my worm farms. So these are just a bit hard to see because I've got a lot of room here, but they're just the foam boxes that produce come in. Now we get our fish from the fish shop in these, and all I've done is, so this is an empty box. So all I've done is, in these top boxes I've poked 3 holes about the size, 6 on each side, about the size of my finger, and they're then sitting on top of a box that doesn't have any holes in it. So the box on the bottom is what catches my worm tea. So it's a little bit cumbersome and clumsy. I got 1 lot of worms from Kookaburra Worm Farms, and there's 2 different types of worms at Bunnings, and I got 1 of each, and so that's why I've got the 3 different worm farms. And honestly, I think the Kookaburra ones got going a bit quicker, but after 12 months there's no significant difference between them. So if I lift this cardboard up, there should be worms underneath there. There we go. So what these worms are feeding on at the moment is my goose poo. So goose poo has many uses. It's worm food. So they're going to dive down because they don't like the light. So what I do is I keep the cardboard on top. I just keep a watering can on hand, just keep it moist. Now the reason it's all stacked up at one end at the moment is what I'm doing is I'm pulling all the worms up to this end on this farm, and the same here. So this farm, so that's worm castings down there. Look at them, magnificent. So what I can do now is the worms will have all migrated up here to feed, so I can harvest the worm castings from down there, which is even better than compost. So that's the process there. When I want to harvest the worm tea, I just carefully pick the box up off the top and I'll rest it on one of the boxes alongside, and then I just pour the worm tea out into this jug. Sorry, that's a fib. I pour it out into this container, and then I just strain it through an old t-shirt into the jug, and then I use the jug to just pour it into these. So it's 2 litres, a little bit over 2 litres in this one, but the other 2 have got 2 litres in them of worm tea, and that's from these 3 small worm farms. That's 12 months worth of tea. So if I make the farms bigger, I'll get more tea, obviously. So, and you're only limited by how much you feed them. The more you feed them, the more they'll grow, and the more space they've got, the more they'll multiply. So yeah, thanks for having a look. That's my little worm farms, and I got this design for the worm farm off of a TV show called Gardening Australia, and I think if you do a search on Google Worm Farm Gardening Australia, you'll find these worm farms on there. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.